Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about inventory of homes and seasons of buying, not the seasons you think of. Okay, so when we're talking about inventory, we're going to be talking about what's for sale, what's been sold, and what's under contract, and that would actually be pended. Okay, so looking at the graph here, you can see that the graph goes up and down, and that's not just a happen chance. There actually is a cycle that you can look at throughout the year, every year that there's a cycle of this graph going up and down. But let's look at right now what's for sale. And we're going to do year to date, 1 year back, not like the last episode where we went 10 years back, although we can do that maybe in later episodes. But in this episode, we're going to look 1 year back so we can look at a statistical year here. So what we see is that the for sale properties year to date from this time last year is down 2.6%, which means actually the inventory has moved down a little bit as properties that are on the market, right? But then also what we see is that the solds, so these would have been properties that went under contract either last month or the month before, is actually down almost 10%. It's down 9.9%. Also, what's pended, so that's what went pending this month. Pending means went under contract, there's an agreement, they have contingencies for financing and so forth, but it hasn't closed. They're under contract off the market, is down 15.1%. All right, so when looking at this, we wonder, is this, maybe an anomaly, or is this, maybe a trend? So it's interesting to look at this graph from a statistical standpoint of how it moves up and down, right? So in Florida, we have seasons, all right? Not the seasons, we have seasons of buying, right? There are seasons as far as the environment is concerned, which is we have really hot in the summer, and then 8 months out of the year is really nice. Okay, so looking at the graph here, you can see that basically the seasons of buying that we have, and I call them really the, you have the Canadians that come down kind of in October, November, right? Because it gets a little bit colder up there. It starts to get colder up there faster, or earlier rather, and and also they don't have Thanksgiving. So I look at it like it gets colder there, and they don't hang around for Thanksgiving. Really, they're not going to hang around for Christmas because it's going to be 4 feet of snow on the ground. So they come. You start to see the Canadians come down in end of October, November, right? Also, people in the Northeast, the snowbirds there that come down for the winter, they'll maybe stick around for Thanksgiving, or they'll leave after Thanksgiving before Christmas, or there are some that'll maybe stick around for Christmas, and you can really see that. It's really, indicative in this graph of how you see in December that, the pendings go way down because people really aren't out looking for homes end of November or December. They're doing their Thanksgiving thing, Black Friday, they're doing their shopping, they're getting ready for Christmas. It's really not a time of year when you have a lot of people looking for homes, which coincidentally here, but not, you have the lowest amount of pendings in December. Now, that picks up dramatically. You can see here it almost picks up by a third to 281 pendings in January. That's not coincidence. That's our population doubles during the season when the snowbirds come down here. So you can see that this graph slowly starts to work up into March and April, right? Look at where it really starts to peak out for the amount of pendings on the market because you have double the population that's here. Coincidentally enough, but not. You can also see that the inventory of sales, the properties for sale, significantly moves up because you have people that come down. Maybe their condo was on the beach. They haven't seen it for 8 months. They come down. Let's put it on the market. Let's upsize. Let's downsize. There's a real movement in the market that time of year. So for us as agents, it's a time where we really pay attention, where we really, really work very, very hard, working 7 days a week, sometimes 10 hours a day to service all of those sellers and buyers that are coming into the market. So this is very important. I want you to look at this and understand that that time of year is really the time of year where you have, if you're going to put your property on the market, you definitely want to have it on the market in January, right? Also, if you're thinking about buying, just realize that there's going to be an extra amount of activity that's also on the market that time of year. So, if you gleaned a few things from this, we tried to keep this in a 5-minute video here. Is that you can see the seasons, you can seasons of buying, if you will, and you can also see inventory, which is important. So, in later episodes, what we're going to do is we're going to look at inventory of homes on the market and in relation to whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. So we need the price per square foot to kind of show trends. We want to show you inventory, which shows you the amount of properties on the market, when they come on the market, how they come on the market, when they go off the market and sell, and how we can look at that and start to determine a trend and whether we're going into a buyer's market or a seller's market and so forth. So there's a lot of different things which really we're trying to lend into here. Is that's the difference between a professional and somebody just goes out and opens doors for you. Do they really understand the statistics? How to help you understand where you stand in the market. When you put your property on the market, you need to know how many other properties, all right, are your competition. And these graphs and this data is important. A lot of people don't like to look at this. They just like to look at homes. But, it's important whether you're a buyer or a seller. So thanks so much for watching. I hope that this information was valuable, and stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks so much.